Hey everybody, my name is Jake. I'm a former Jehovah's Witness current person who forgot to render the fun clip that I prepared for the intro, so you had to deal with the normie introduction. Normally I do like a unique clip every week, but I forgot, and that's not important. We are here to hang out. If you've never been here before, this is Sunday Service. It's a live show where every week I and my chat and sometimes as special guests react to what my old cult leaders are up to and make fun of them, and sometimes talk about other things related to ex-Jehovah's Witnesses or other high control groups. And our main story today, I think it is a story, was brought to my attention by our special guest who we'll be bringing in shortly. Thanks to everybody in chat who's sounding off. A bit of business up top, which is, first of all, make sure you subscribe to the Sunday Service channel. That's where this stream is going to live after it's over. So if you're here, you're special. You're seeing something that will never exist again, except as an unlisted video link on my channel and also on the Sunday Service channel. So that's where all the streams are going to live. And also, if you want to become a patron or a member, today's a great day to do it because on either the last Sunday or the first Sunday of every month, I do a members-only stream with all my paid subscribers, and we're going to do a rowdy screening of the Pillowgate videos. I have like an unedited version of it that I was sent, without anybody's commentary, and I've been wanting to react to it for a while. So if you, like me, sometimes listen to live streams and podcasts and talk along at the person as if they can hear you, this is going to be great because I actually will be able to hear you. You can just jump in and we'll react and it'll be chaos and it'll be fun. Now, I'm going to bring in our special guest today. This is an ex-Jehovah's Witness you might have seen around on Instagram. He posted about about a Jehovah's Witness therapy scam. I think I'm going to call it a scam, and we'll see if he agrees. But I had never heard of this before he posted about it. It's called brocounsel, as you can see from the thumbnail, and it's really wild. So we're going to get into that, and I'm going to bring him in. This is RC. What's up, my dude? Deconstructing XJW.
Hey, Jake. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here.
Yeah. It's a friend of mine sent me some Instagram account, which links to a website, and it looks like they are giving therapy specifically to JWs. So,
yes, it's really wild. I'm so glad that you posted about this, and there's a lot to unpack. Before we do that, usually, if people haven't been here before, I react to other stuff that happened this week in the XJW world and Jehovah's Witness land. And so a couple things happen. One is this governing body update. There's not a lot to it, but we're going to look at that. And then literally like minutes before we started recording, Apostate Ministry School posted, hey, user Dave/King posted another Bethel video on Reddit. If you don't know, this user's been posting leaks, like internal training videos for Bethelites. And I reacted to the Judicial Committee stuff, this Judicial Committee training. That's going to be the video that I release tomorrow on the channel as a detailed rebuttal to that. But this new video, neither of us have seen, and I think we're just going to react to it. So I'm going to, let's see, I think I want to stop doing this, and I want to share Reddit. Yeah. All right. So this is a circuit overseer training video. It's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I can't wait to see this.
I can't wait to see it either. I want to make sure that everything is still up and running here because chat hasn't updated for me in a little bit. Are we alive? Are we there? Can people see what we're doing?
I see comments, but nothing in the private chat.
Oh, no, that's fine. All right. I just got word up, homies. I now know that we're alive and well. Okay, good deal. So this is Circuit Overseer Training. I have no idea what this is. It was posted 5 minutes before we decided to go on. So here we go.
Before we take our next door, may I talk to you about something that's been bothering me?
Sure.
Oh.
Since I'm a new elder, I've been giving a lot of thought about whether I should speak up and tell you about something that recently happened on our body. I know you
body.
met with the coordinator on Tuesday, but
Translation for any never JWs. They're talking about the elder body. It's very strange. They just refer to it as the body. So that's what's going on there.
before the meeting. Perhaps he shared with you that he recently confessed to viewing non-important pornography?
No, he didn't tell me.
Hold on. I love the fact he just dropped non-important pornography. For folks that don't know, JWs have pornography separated into categories. One category is a judicial committee offense where you can be disfellowshipped, and the other category is like, it's vanilla, it's straight, there's no bondage, we're fine.
Yes. Right. As soon as gay things start happening, it's abhorrent. Or if it's like,
I love how he just dropped it in a sentence like that was just a normal word. That was just a normal phrase that anybody would say.
oh yeah, I think that's what I love about these training videos is that they're so unguarded. They don't have any.
It's so culty.
I laughed at the same thing. I was like, wow, he just said non-abhorrent. What a judgment call, by the way. And I find this confusing on God's part that there's some kinds of pornography he's like, hey, I'm not into that at all, and I think you should be in trouble. And then there's like, you are in double trouble for watching double penetration.
Yeah, I mean,
for example, it's a thing that God says.
Yeah.
Wild. Absolutely wild. Okay.
We reviewed his qualifications, but it was decided to retain him as an elder.
When did the body meet to review his qualifications?
Brother Martin, we met about a month ago. We met for almost
Brother Martin. Oh, wait, I didn't mean to rewind. I don't know why that happened.
So
he said yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, I got removed for pornography use, so I'm curious to see how this goes. I was a ministerial servant, got a guilty conscience, confessed that, every 6 months or so I slip up and have for years.
Yeah.
And got removed, and as a ministerial servant had to wait my 2 years. So I'm curious to see if the elders are going to use that special loophole or if this is going to be, give them the axe.
I know. This is really fascinating. I also confessed a couple of times to viewing pornography, guilty conscience, because it's brought up at the meetings like multiple times a month. And in any kind of meeting that you're in with the circuit overseer, they're like, pornography. We all know that people are secretly watching it. And if you are not going to be honest about it, Jehovah has a way of revealing these things.
Yeah. Right after Watchtower study, went right back to the elders room. Like, yeah. Skeptics and Scoundrels says, how does he know it's not important? Did he watch it too?
Well, that's the thing that's so weird is that elders have to ask, this elder who confessed, he has to talk to the elders.
Oh yeah. Like, did you ever watch this? Did you ever watch that? Was it this? Yeah. Oh yeah. It was
were there two people of the same sex?
It was
changing bodily fluids.
Yeah, it was so explicit. It was, quite embarrassing.
I know. They absolutely... Oh, Governor asked, where is everyone? Do you mean, like, in this room? Because I think what this is like a private meeting. Like, after the meeting, this looks like the back school, like the second school of a Kingdom Hall, and they're like, okay, privately, I need to talk to you one-on-one. So we're going to talk about porn in the secret library.
A thought about whether I should speak up and tell you about something that recently happened on our body.
Yeah.
I know. Perhaps he shared with you that he recently confessed to viewing non-important pornography?
No, he didn't tell me.
No.
We reviewed his qualifications,
he already confessed.
but it was decided to retain him as an elder.
When did the body meet to review his qualifications?
Brother Martin, we met about a month ago. We met for almost 4 hours, and
Whoa.
the body was divided. A lot of strong opinions were shared. The majority felt that
pauses for a second.
Yes.
Translation. There is a lot of politics and nepotism and who is friends with who and which elder is buddies with which elder, to the extent that something like this takes a 4-hour meeting to discuss.
4 hours.
It is by no means there's this idea that the elders like sit down and they read the scripture and then the Holy Spirit like blesses the meeting. And it's like, no, it's people shooting from the hip, going with their gut. It's wild.
Yes. And let's be real. This is obviously a fictional scenario, but as we have both stated, this is also a very real scenario. This happens all the time. And a lot of dudes watch pornography. Probably most of them, especially if they are. I mean, everyone in the religion is very sexually.
A lot of people
repressed.
of all genders watch pornography. Let's be honest.
Exactly. But the elders in particular, they're really not supposed to be doing it, but a lot of them do. And so I have to imagine that a lot of these elders arguing like, well, I don't know if that's important. I don't think we should remove them.
You're right.
It's like, what if they're trying to justify it for themselves? Like, well, I don't think it's wrong to watch that. I mean, just hypothetically, I don't think that's wrong to watch that. And so, for 4 hours, grown men put on suits and sat around a table and argued about the merits of, two girls kissing for 4 hours or whatever it was. Absolutely. And here's the other thing I wanted to say about this. The elder confessed, right? The guy who viewed porn confessed. They had a meeting for 4 hours about it. They decided to keep him on the body. And then this little sneaky guy is like a super narc and it's like, Dad, I think that he should still be in trouble. I think that even though we decided, I think that I want you to get involved and get this guy in trouble.
You know what's funny? Because I remember a time or two there being some theocratic assignment, brushing up against the subject of human sexuality or immorality or uncleanness. And I felt so shitty if I had that assignment.
Yes.
And I'm like, look, I'm watching this and I'm just thinking to myself, like, I wonder if these two watch it from time to time or have confessed or have a little something, I did a Google search and they're, bikini models, but nothing too far. Cause how the brain just tries to find these loopholes and things,
Right. I get aroused during James Bond films, but I don't watch pornography. Yes,
my gosh.
You're totally right. There's so much.
Like the Pillowgate videos talks about looking at thumbnails on Netflix, and
yes,
looking at thumbnails on it's just like, I know the Pillowgate video says that because someone has done that and used that as the excuse,
Yes.
and I know that I was guilty of that when I was a JW. Just like, okay, it's not this. It's not like the real thing,
Yeah. Well, it's just like religious thinking kind of inevitably, or maybe not all religious thinking, but this kind of religious thinking, people are naturally going to look for loopholes. And that's why they have no choice but to become increasingly authoritarian in how they regulate every little thing because people find loopholes. And you're so right. The Pillowgate videos are all about that. The reason why they're called Pillowgate is because I think Gary Bro famously paints this hypothetical scenario, which it's so strange that it must have come up more than once. And it's like if you like hump a pillow in your sleep and ejaculate, that still counts as pornea. Like if you have a wet dream because you were intentionally trying to conjure a wet dream, you can still get in trouble. It's really bizarre. I wasn't expecting this to be such a spicy stream right up top.
Yeah, seriously.
Dave King dropped a banger about
because he voluntarily confessed that he's still qualified to serve. But I think everyone just got tired and ultimately allowed him to continue serving.
Was this a one-time occurrence or was this a practice?
This was not a one-time occurrence. He viewed pornography multiple times over a year.
To your knowledge, has the body ever given him counsel on this matter before?
I don't know if he's ever received counsel before in the past. But you mentioned to me in your last visit that no matter how large or small the issue, to always consult the Bible, the Shepherd Book, and research publications. So I was a bit surprised that in that meeting, we never opened up the Bible to read a scripture or read the chapter on pornography.
I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised at all.
Yeah, I have a reason for not being surprised too.
I was never an elder, but I had friends who were elders, and I was the non-elder they could bitch and moan about all the bullshit too. You know?
Same.
Yeah, and it's just like I'm not surprised at all that not a single scripture was read. I like the handful of elders that were kind of like this guy in this video all complained about this.
Oh yeah,
Or,
absolutely.
just people arguing and arguing and arguing, no scriptures, no sort of like theocratic justification, just shooting from the hip for hours.
Tony Block says, I remember an elder giving a talk in which anything that arouses you is considered porn. And I was like, wow, in for a penny, in for a pound. Yeah,
There's a footnote in one of the publications that pretty much defines pornography as like content designed to arouse our something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that's so complicated because like people are aroused by different things. Like
yeah,
some guys like
that's
I don't
true.
know. I like pajamas, just like chaste pajamas. I like coziness. That gets me going. It's definitely not pornographic or like revealing.
Rugby and beach volleyball.
Oh my god! Well, that's why Top Gun is a no-no for all elders. They're not allowed to watch that movie. Okay, this is fascinating. Here's why I'm not surprised they didn't open the Bible, is because obviously the Bible doesn't say anything about modern internet pornography. Like, it's just, they go towards this bizarre Greek definition of porneia, which just encompasses a lot of different things. Funny enough, it was a concept that was invented by Raymond Franz, and he talks about it in Crisis of Conscience. Raymond Franz was a governing body member who famously apostatized and, wrote a tell-all book about it. And yet, even though an apostate came up with that teaching, it is still like his lasting legacy on the organization, which is unfortunate. I get turned on at videos of elders ratting out the rest of the body. Well, this is where it gets. And what about like the fact that they always have like all the videos, this video notwithstanding, they always pick like very traditionally attractive witnesses to put in all of their videos. Like they want Jesus to be hot and like Jade and Nita and Bible studies. Yes.
Sorry.
Unless you're a governing body member. All right. This guy's face is also very funny. I can't put my hand on what he reminds me of. I feel like there's a cartoon character, and in chat, let's try and figure out.
We should have asked the questions in that chapter, and we didn't. I really regret not speaking up about it.
Wow.
But I must admit, I did feel quite intimidated and outnumbered.
Well, you want to do another take of that for the video, or no?
I appreciate that.
He just messed up his line. They're like, keep it in. It's fine.
What should I do? Should I continue to question this newly appointed elder for more information? Or should I speak to the coordinator? If I decide to speak to the coordinator, should I do it alone? Or have another elder with me?
Wow, he's doing a soliloquy. Remember these?
Okay, yeah, I forgot this is CO training. So this is from the perspective of the CO deciding how to execute his abilities properly, his responsibilities properly. That's fascinating.
Yeah. So this is what the circuit overseers watching this should be thinking. Like, all right, this is going to come up. What are you going to do? He does look a little like Tim Gunn. I'll say it right now that I think that his glasses are awesome, and I kind of want them. Just a little droopy dog. He has all elders kind of have a little droopy dog essence.
Is this really a matter for the entire body to meet on? And since the body has decided, is this a closed matter? Should I simply have that newly appointed elder respect the decision of the body and move on?
Can we pause
Important
this for
questions?
How to proceed?
Yes.
Okay, so I think that this highlights for me something which I experienced in my 20 years of trying to become an elder and never accomplishing it, but being a servant off and on, which is the circuit overseers are wildly inconsistent from person to person to person. Like you get this situation where for 4 years you have, this is the way we do things, and the circuit overseer's coming in, he's a real ball buster, and let's get all of our shit together and have everything perfect. And then you have like 4 years of Mr. Teddy Bear, and it's kind of,
it's like the new superintendent of a school district or something. It's like, oh wow, this guy's
Yeah,
real
and
hard ass.
it really does kind of like highlight the fact that there's no sort of there's a lot of subjective interpretation when it comes to theocratic arrangement.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, because it's just like people's personalities, like you were saying, and their personal opinions reading into these policy documents that they're received that they're given by Watchtower, and it almost has the vibe of like like court justices trying to interpret the Constitution. Like, well, it says here bear arms. Well, what was that word bear? Like they're trying to really parse the language of something that is essentially just like a legal policy, but it's sad in Jehovah's Witness land because it is a completely invented reality. None of this has any authority outside of this insular group. And so these men are sort of cosplaying as judges
Yeah.
and cops, and they're getting off on this one area of life where they're able to have some modicum of power. And they're like, ooh, this is a really challenging situation. I need to pray about this.
I know like one specific example is like we had a CO who was like looking over the field service records of every servant and elder for discrepancies, for lost, like short months,
Yeah.
for placements, no Bible studies. And the next CO is just like, you brothers are working so hard and Jehovah appreciates whatever you can do. And we're not going to, we're not going to nitpick you, and just completely different vibes, same
Yes.
position.
Oh yeah, we had a really really bad one when I was in Spanish that like completely like it caused complete upheaval at the circuit assembly. He had these really bizarre specific rules about the baptism process and who was allowed to get up front and take a picture of the baptism pool. And so it created this really chaotic, confusing, and kind of mean scenario where, like, no, sorry, CO says that you're not allowed to be up there because you're not directly related to the person getting baptized. So you're not allowed to get beyond this point and take a picture. Just like dumb things like that become of outsized importance just because of one narcissistic loser's personality quirks. Just my opinion.
Proceed. I think I need to take this to Jehovah in prayer.
Take it to Jehovah. Gotta take it to Jehovah in prayer.
Oh, is that it?
That was that, but I'm trying to see if
okay, so take it to
I want to
Jehovah
see if
in
he
prayer.
posted another one because that's pretty great. And he posted another one an hour ago. That is a Bethel Overseers training video. I think we gotta watch that. It's 6 minutes. Screw the governing body update. It's not interesting. We don't need it. Yeah, let's go to this. So this is Bethel Overseers training video. So this is even a higher level than Circuit Overseers because Bethel is the house of God, of course. So this is somebody who's an overseer of God's pad. Very important, very serious business.
Hi, Terrence.
Hey, Donnell.
Well, we have been assigned by Bethel office to see how we can best help Johnny Young.
Johnny
He
Young.
confessed to being involved with pornography.
Damn, what is going on with these guys? Hey, wait a minute. This guy is in the Judicial Committee training videos. So he must be a real powerful fella in Bethel. So stay tuned tomorrow. You'll see more of this guy.
The longer I'm out of this, the insanity of trying to combat human nature is just unreal. It's just
Oh, I know. Trying to police hundreds, if not thousands, of people's sexuality at a time is maybe not that.
Johnny Young is such a poor name.
Johnny Young. Oh, it is. It totally is. Why is it never a sister, by the way? I think it's just because they realize that it's going to look so much creepier.
Yeah.
In that context. And I think there is a weird stigma that, and you also see that in the Pillowgate videos, that women are less sexual.
The videos for the women are like 20 minutes shorter and don't contain half of the information. Yeah.
Yeah. because they kind of can't fathom that women are as sexual of creatures as men. Like they're just like, well,
Yeah,
you don't have to worry about this as
that's
much.
a
You just don't
weird
have to worry about it.
that's a weird one to unlearn for sure when you get outside the organization.
Yes. Yeah, like they talk about like homosexual encounters between men in the men's section, but to my memory, they don't do that for the sisters part of the video. It's almost as if it's not a consideration that it could possibly happen. Which is very strange.
They
I don't
left,
know.
yeah, not to get too sidetracked, but the sister's version of Pillowgate does not explain in the graphic detail what pornea is. So it kind of leaves her
Yeah.
at the discretion of the guy she's dating to not get either of them in trouble. Versus the guys section is like, here's where the line is, and this is when you're
Yeah.
going to get in a lot of trouble.
We've got some good comments, by the way. Jehovah is the HR department. Jehovah's janitor. I also like call up the ladder to John. That's what that last guy was like. I'm gonna have to get on the horn with Papa Jaw. I should make Papa Jaw's t-shirts, like with Papa John's logo, but it's Papa Jaw. I'll only get on my knees for Jehovah. Let thy kingdom come.
Say,
All right.
say marriage due.
Phantom, oh my God, the marital Jew. Oh, by the
Oh
way,
my
a couple
gosh.
other things. Skeptics and Scoundrels, who, by the way, I fucked up and forgot that we had originally scheduled streaming today, but then I missed last week. Anyway, Skeptics and Scoundrels is going to be on the channel soon, too. But these videos are for men, so the subject, being a woman, might ironically stumble the viewer. That is a very good point. All right, let's get into this. More porn from Johnny, what was his name? Johnny Young.
Johnny Young.
Not a porn star. Oh, last note, I have this shirt and I almost wore it today. It would have been amazing if that had happened.
Initially approached me about the problem, and he revealed that he was exposed to it by a non-witness relative when he was in his preteens.
What?
He mentioned that he's been under a lot of pressure lately. He wants to get married, and so he has been dating. But the last two sisters he dated called things off, and this sent him into a downward spiral.
Hey.
In
I've been
addition
there.
to that, a number of his friends have left Bethel for various reasons, and that adds to his distress.
Johnny Horny. That's the story. These ladies keep breaking things off with our fine Bethel brother, who's only sin.
This
only sin was
dovetails into our conversation about JW therapy and emotional, health, because it's like
100%.
they're literally describing somebody spiraling into, a bad mental health episode. And
Yeah.
gosh, when that happens to me, I got 99 problems, but one of them is not whether or not to confess to the elders about pornography anymore.
My God.
It's
I
like,
know.
but okay, all right. So on top of mental health problems, whatever, coping mechanisms that you choose to employ, no judgment. We all do what we do when we're in different various emotional states. But they're not your business anymore. They don't, your body's not your own. Your life's not your own. So,
yes.
run to the
You must be
elders.
presented as a living sacrifice to Jehovah. That's what your body's supposed to be. And then there's also, I did want to shout out this comment, which is this level of obsession with other people's sex lives is a form of sex abuse, which the JWs cared about this as much as pedophilia. I think that's the thing. Like, I've said, and I've seen others say, that Jehovah's Witnesses are a sex cult. It's just that they are an anti-sex cult. They control your sexuality as much as cults where you have to have sex with the leader, for example, or you're assigned to have sex with other people. It's just kind of in the opposite direction.
Dr. Laura Anderson, who's a friend of mine on Instagram, former evangelical.
I know who she is. Yeah.
Yeah. She did her PhD thesis on sexual trauma. And she says that being raised in extreme purity culture gives you the same symptoms as sexual assault, that it has a sort of very similar psychological imprint on you. Yeah. Not to equate traumas, and she's very careful not to, but it's a sort of removal of agency around your sexuality in both cases.
Yes.
And that has deleterious psychological effects on you.
Oh, that's such a great, very apropos to this. Ron Pimo says, well, that's not Ron Pimo. This is quite the fantasy. I've never seen the personal concern and understanding for what someone is going through that could be the reason behind the action. Totally made up.
Yeah. Yeah, seriously.
I mean, look at this concern. His lips are pursed.
Wow.
Wow, he's really weighed down by
Difficult
this.
set of circumstances.
Difficult.
I
Oh.
really feel for the young man. Did he say if it has affected him in some other ways?
He said it hasn't.
Yes, he
said
did.
it's fine.
He also mentioned that from time to time, while viewing pornography, he slips into self-abuse. In fact, he admitted that these
Oh my god. Well, this is fucking fascinating. Holy shit. Okay, this is amazing. Do you want to explain the self-abuse thing?
Self-abuse is masturbation.
It's just masturbation. This is incredible. So one of the things that was really fascinating about those leaked pillow videos, I didn't know that this would be such a great plug for this stream I'm doing later where we watch these videos, but it really has worked out.
I mean, this has turned out to be really cathartic because
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh my God.
I basically spent from age 14 to 25 when I confessed just cycles of self-hate, hatred, and then like,
Yeah.
slate is clean, Jehovah. I'm not going to do it again. I got
Yep.
this. I can do this. Please don't kill me at Armageddon. I'm so sorry. And then maybe 2 weeks later, and just like something I want to share is like the experience I had when I finally left, because I must be a pervert. I'm like sexually deranged in some way. Turns out if you don't go 2 weeks without an outlet, you can just live your life and it's kind of not on your mind most of the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
Right.
it's like the cure, their whole thing creates the emotional trauma around sexuality because like you have no outlet. And then as a week or two goes by, you have I would have these obsessive thoughts to the point of like, what's wrong with me? I can't think about anything else.
Right.
You give in and then you hate yourself. It's just like, gosh, what if Armageddon comes tomorrow now? And I just did this today,
Yes.
and then the cycle repeats. And then, I was married, but I ended up divorced and single in an ex-JW. And it's just like, oh, wow. I would have never thought that I could just be a single guy and just, this is not on my mind 24/7 because I'm just healthy now. I can just have a healthy relationship to this thing,
100%. I really appreciate you sharing that because I had the exact same thing. I haven't talked about it as much on this channel because, it is just kind of embarrassing to think about in hindsight, but just like you, as soon as I discovered what self-abuse was, it was from then until, probably 25 when I just kind of made peace with it. And I was like, you know what? It seems like Jehovah doesn't actually care about this. So I'm not going to either. And I think the organization's just wrong about it mattering if you masturbate. But that level of just constant mental anguish that you live in is one of the reasons why I just think it's always worth leaving the witnesses. Sometimes people talk about like, well, I wouldn't want to wake up so-and-so because they've dedicated so much of their life to it. And first of all, I don't think you can wake other people up, but I just think it's always a gift because even though the process of leaving the group is stressful, the removing the cosmic guilt from every little thought and interaction that you have is such a weight off. And like yourself, the organization creates this don't think about elephants paradox where you are constantly told, and really constantly, if you're doing everything right and reading the Bible daily, reading the daily text, every day you're being reinforced with things that you're not supposed to think about, which of course makes you think about them. And it's impossible not to. And it works out in their favor because the group can only really exist as a way for you to cleanse yourself of your sins. And you need to think that you are sinful in order to justify being a part of the group to begin with. So once you refuse to accept their premise, it all falls apart and it's just much more freeing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel the same way. Originally, it was just like, oh, I can go do all these things and I can live, live the life I always wanted to live. But now I look at it as just like the return to self-agency and self-determination and self-trust and sort of no longer being at war with various parts of yourself and just kind of being able to bring everything into peace and alignment is incomparable.
Oh my God. And like, what is just that thought that you had of like, I must be a huge pervert because all I can think about is sex, is like, well, what is more perverted? A young single guy wanting to have consenting sex with fellow adults, like normal, like in a
age appropriate relationship,
right?
At any stage, yeah.
What's creepier, that or this, which is grown adults creeping on other people's,
their fingers into people's lives.
Yes, like
just
what
ridiculous.
pornography they're viewing and whether or not they're masturbating, and like this is creepy. That's what these people, these spirit appointed men, are doing in God's house, is talking about the jerk off habits of other dudes they work with.
Elliot Larson's comment, I like that one.
Elliot Larson always has good comments. You have to be in the shame spiral to seek constant forgiveness.
Yeah.
It's the whole thing
of self-reinforcing feedback loop is what it is.
Yes. Being of this mindset where life is more than any of us deserve and we are sinful. We do not deserve kindness. God's kindness is undeserved. You need to have that thought that you were kind of born bad and need somebody to save you and that you deserve destruction, but God mercifully just isn't killing you anyway. Unreal. Yes, well stated. I love this face too. This is the elder face. If I've ever seen it.
These things have become part of his way of coping.
You know, Donnell, it's commendable that he approached you.
This guy seems extra tired.
Well, he is a good young man, a hard worker. I would never have guessed what he is dealing with.
Yes.
Almost as if it didn't actually matter.
But when I say commendable, I mean you. You are to be commended.
Oh, actually, let me correct you on that. That other guy, not commendable. Screw him. You're commendable for ratting him out to me, the sleepiest man in Bethel. I've seen preachers use the word pornea just like JWs do. It's weird. Oh, wow. Well, that's the other thing is when you start looking into other faiths, you realize.
Pornea is not a word with as clear-cut a definition as we were taught. That's fascinating. It actually literally just means like prostitution or air quotes whoredom, which is very subjective.
Yes. Oh, of course. It's very subjective. Oh, and Jegsit here, a friend of this show. They create a non-existent problem and then pose themselves as the solution to it. Absolutely. You got to sell people the disease and the cure. They're snake oil salesmen. I can't get over how tired this man is. But it's not unrealistic. I mean, part of cult control is just keeping people working constantly and limiting how much sleep they're able to get. And Bethel is a lot of that.
This young man must feel comfortable enough with you and that you're easy to approach about such intimate matters. So, how can we best assist him?
What is wrong with this guy?
He said he felt ashamed to have to talk about it, but he sensed a feeling of relief knowing that he would receive help.
Oh.
So I was thinking,
this guy's all about feelings of relief.
I mean, this is what happens when you live your entire life with an activated nervous system. You feel you don't feel joy, you feel relief. It's just constantly waiting for the next situation where you can go, okay, I'm good enough. I've did enough of the right thing, or I asked for help, or like so-and-so told me that it's all going to be okay. And there's just little moments of relief. There's never sort of like an overall intact sense of like everything's fine with me inside.
Yes.
It's just little moments of relief from the pain. Yeah.
I'll tell you my sins.
Double entendre with the word relief.
100%. I also I'll tell you my sins so you can sharpen your knife.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Jehovah needed to restrain himself and look away. He's literally needs to restrain himself and look away. He's literally committing pornea by watching us diddle. I think about this all the time. Jehovah's watching the most pornography out of anybody on Earth. He watches it all constantly. He's seen every video that's ever been made, especially
We
the
could
bad
share
stuff.
with him some Bible examples of those who
Of
made
dudes who jerked
mistakes
off.
and who felt a measure of shame or guilt, but received Jehovah's help.
Yes, that will definitely help reassure him that he is not beyond Jehovah's tender care.
Do you want to take a
And
nap and then get back
after
to us,
that,
sir?
If we can ask for specific details as to the amount of times that he viewed pornography and the type of material that he viewed.
And also just how big it is what I'm trying to
So, see, this is my problem with, you can see it right here in the video where you're ashamed, you're not okay.
Yeah.
I'll use I'm not okay. And the source of me feeling better about myself is outside of me. It's all
yeah.
it's all externally focused. It's all like I need somebody else to absolve me of this. I need some source outside of myself to make me okay with myself. And so it's like, well, no shit, they're feeling shame. Like you just described a shame cycle. And
Yes.
your solution is, well, okay, well, let's read some scriptures about other people that felt shame and reassure them of Jehovah. And it's like, well, how about we don't posit the existence of an invisible watcher who judges everything and condemns you 24/7 for every little goddamn
Yeah.
thing you do? That would be a great way to get rid of a cycle of shame.
Yes. The idea that even your private, intimate moments with yourself are not that. They are being watched and monitored, and there is somebody disappointed in you. What a deeply unhealthy way to think. It creates a certain paranoia and shame to your every action.
It's like we are trained to be perpetually children with
Yes.
dad's angry at me. Well, am I
Yep.
making dad proud? Is dad happy? Is dad sad? Like,
Yeah.
forget who you are, what you want, what you care about, what makes you feel good, what makes you happy, how you need to cope. Like it's all outside of you. How does this other person feel?
It's exactly what you said, and that's why they speak in this infantilizing way. It seems to be something that is just developed naturally within the group, is just this kind of paternalistic, infantilizing language where even in this meeting between two elders, they are still talking to each other that way.
Yeah, in this weird canned, yeah.
Yeah. Like they're oh, anyway,
Well, Jake, what I was thinking this morning on the stream is that
yes. That's how we were before the stream started. I was like, well, RC, I appreciate you sitting down with me. I was thinking first we would talk about the pornography video that was recently released.
thank you, brother.
Ugh,
Thank you, brother Johnny Long.
just the... They call him Long Johnny.
This will help us when we consider the questions found in the Shepherd Book.
That is true. He said that when he was between 13 and 15 years of age, he would engage in such activity once a month. But he stopped before he got baptized.
Wow. That seems
But
true,
it has
for
been
sure.
since he's been at Bethel that these old desires have crept back into his life. And so that is why he asked for help.
Yeah.
I mean, this is why I never applied for Bethel.
Same!
I was
couldn't
just
get
like,
past the form.
I can't. Yeah, I can't answer this thing. It asks me if I do this thing, I do it.
And that's if people don't know what we're talking about, they ask if you have viewed pornography in the last year on the form. And obviously it's honor system, just like this story. I mean, I have been whatever this dude was who confessed his sins. And I'm like, yeah, just like a couple times once a month. And it's really like, well, it's every day. But if I say that shit, I'm definitely going to get in trouble. Like, it encourages lying for that very reason, because a lot of times Bethelites are just people who are comfortable lying on the form.
Yeah.
And then they get there thinking, well, I'll live up to it when I get there.
Yeah. If you've had any friends that went to Bethel and came back, it's a frat house. You're dealing with a frat house is what you're dealing with.
It is a frat house full of people who thought that locking themselves in a room with other horny, repressed
They
people
all
would somehow
right.
diminish the
They all
effect.
thought it's just me. I'm the one lone weirdo who does this. I'm the one who's
Yes.
not spiritual enough, and I'll go and I'll be amongst all. I'll be surrounded by spirituality, and it'll lift me up. And really,
Yes.
it's what you're seeing in this video right now. It's human nature.
Yes.
You end up realizing, oh, all these other Bethelites have the same problems I do. Like,
And like, what are the chances, realistically, that these two guys, legit, because they're both elders in real life, like, what are the chances that they haven't masturbated in the last year? Like, I'm gonna say unlikely, just statistically, pretty unlikely.
either that or scolding their wife to render the due on a regular
Yeah.
schedule.
Yep. And they have very different definitions of what constitutes abuse than other religions. So they get away with stuff. Anyway, let's get back to these two incels.
I really feel for the young man. And we can commend him for not trying to do it alone.
What? Who was he inviting to the circle jerk that I wasn't aware of? I mean, I agree with him. Don't do it alone. Invite a friend. It's more fun. It's a special bonding moment. Absolutely wild. Bethel's basically a bathhouse. And except they literally have to share a shower. A shared shower house. Absolutely wild. All my buddies who lied on the application got sent back after a few months. Oh, man. Tell us about that, Shield Society, in the secret stream later. Oh, maybe I can reveal some secret dirt I know about stuff that went on at Bethel. It's not my story, but trust the source.
Really demonstrates that he wants to do things Jehovah's way.
That is true.
After 15 years.
From what I understand, he's only spoken to me about it. His father and his mother are separated, his father not being in the truth. So he has not been inclined to speak to either of them about it. But those are things that the two of us can confirm.
You're saying he hasn't been inclined to talk to his mother about the pornography that he watches? That's weird. Why not?
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Jesus.
My dad taught me what it was before I was old enough to know.
Yeah.
Did the whole, like, in the Red Youth book too. So, you know,
Yeah.
this is going to turn
Yep.
this is going to turn you gay. And so, you know, being mildly on the bisexual spectrum, that gave me a whole other separate complex. And
Oh, yeah.
so yeah, the last thing I was going to do is just be like, yeah, I'm sorry, Dad. I know we talked about this when I was 10 and you prepared me and I failed you anyways.
That's how it was for me. Well, I kind of had the opposite scenario, but it was like by the time my dad talked to me about it, I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know that it was called masturbation or whatever. And then he had the talk with me, and I was like, uh-oh, apparently this is bad. I thought I just discovered like a superpower that I had. And, it's, you know, it's a bad thing. So then there was retroactive shame. But yes, I confessed to my dad, who was an elder, because I felt like, well, if I'm going to talk to an elder, I guess I'm going to talk to the guy who's going to be most sympathetic. And I think it helped me not get in as much trouble as I would have if I would have just confessed to elders who weren't my dad. You know, like I think I was able to stay a servant when other people were not because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do you think he's expecting to happen?
I'm not really sure, but no doubt you
Kinda weird that he
recall
told
that
us.
the dwelling manual in paragraph
He's
79
afraid of getting
states
kicked out
that
and
whenever
losing
he-
his-
Yes.
Yeah, he's afraid of like everything that he's been told is his should be his life's aspiration since he was a child, and this dream that he's had in his mind of this like idyllic image of coming to be amongst God's people at headquarters is going to vanish in smoke. And by the way,
Yeah.
I only got myself to blame for it because I'm a worthless piece of shit that can't stop touching myself. Like
Yeah.
that's what he's afraid of. He's afraid of some very real things that you guys have laid on his shoulders.
Yep. Hey, Apostate Barbie in the chat.
the Bethel family is involved in viewing pornography,
Wow, someone
a
in the family's
determination
involved.
will be made whether he can remain in Bethel. So in harmony with that, The responsible brothers have asked us to get back with Johnny and gather all the facts so that we can make a recommendation regarding whether he can remain a member of the Bethel family and a ministerial servant.
Wow.
So based on that, the Shepherd the Flock of God book, I have my tablet here, says in chapter 13, paragraph 6.
This bizarre ritual they do of just reading and rereading these same passages from their policy manual is creepy. It's really weird.
Yeah.
He also has his copy on his tablet.
6. The body of elders may determine that the person still qualifies to serve in an appointed position.
Look at his
Does
face
his
like, oh,
involvement
interesting.
consist of a few brief viewings of non-abhorrent forms of pornography? Was the first thing. Number 2, does he display...
Where's that in the Bible? Where in the Bible does it say if a person views a few non-abhorrent forms of pornography in a certain amount of time, they can stay a ministerial servant? Like, what the fuck are we talking about?
You know, at some point, I'm kind of I'm curious, like, just the word count of the Elders book versus the New Testament.
That would be...
You know what I mean? Because like, isn't it all Bible based direction? But like, you go into the New Testament, there's not a single judicial committee. There's not a single bit of instruction, and all of this stuff is completely made up.
Yeah,
even like the hierarchy of sins. It's like when you go into like Paul talking about remove the wicked man from among you, I think he mentions like pornea and idolatry. And they take from that, they're like, okay, but then all these other things in this other verse are mentioned with pornea. So they're all equal. And it's just sort of like this daisy chain of scripture to scripture to scripture. Well, he must have meant that there was some serious sins and that, okay, so how do we determine serious sin? And let's take like 5 unrelated scriptures and...
Yep. Exactly. And a lot of the times it just falls back on these vague scriptures that encompass everything about the group. Like, well, we have to keep the congregation clean and let all things take place decently and by arrangement. And that's like, it can mean whatever they want it to mean, essentially. Yes, this XJW activist Jordan J. was sent home from Bethel for confessing to this while at Bethel. Their treatment led to him waking up. Yeah, he had a great video. I think he deleted his channel, but it was really, really good. If the son of an elder confesses to chronic masturbation problem, can the elder be deleted for not controlling his household? I've never heard of that happening. But I remember that being a fear of mine with a dad who was an elder, getting him in trouble.
The thing about elders getting removed because of their kids is going to depend on whether it's a judicial committee, and it's going to depend on whether it's disfellowshipping versus private reproof. If you can privately reprove an elder's kid and keep it quiet, it plays a lot better than the elder's kid getting disfellowshipped and still lives at home.
Yeah, it's all about how it's perceived by the congregation. Like another video that had been I reacted to on a previous stream with Christina, I think, but Dave King also re-released recently, was this CEO visit with a body of elders where they discuss as a body kicking this elder off the elder body because his daughter is going to college and the dad is supportive of his daughter going to college.
Yeah.
And it is a problem because it is widely known in the congregation and it reflects poorly. This college education is going to be infectious.
Yeah, the whole, like, once you're an appointed brother, if you've never had that experience, for folks wondering, like, the conversation of how are you viewed by the congregation is something that comes up repetitively.
How many people know?
And it's very subjective. It's very much like elder to elder has a different opinion. Circuit overseer has a different opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's all about, is vibes and feelings.
Yeah.
All right.
Heartfelt desire to desist from looking at pornography.
Desist.
Number 3, are we convinced that he will refrain from viewing it any further? Number 4, does he retain the respect of others who are aware of what he did? And number 5, does his conscience allow him to do so?
Did he say, does he retain the respect of others who know what he did?
Yes.
So this is exactly, Elliot Larson.
Purely subjective.
Elliot Larson's comment nails it.
But surely constructing a highly visible system of social approval won't lead to any unhealthy anxiety or overplayed spirituality.
Yeah.
Elliot Larson in here just dropping truth bombs. It's so good. Absolutely
Right.
preposterous.
Sparky asks, why would others be aware of his masturbating? Exactly.
Because, yes, great question. Well, where did this take place? Good God. What a embarrassing nightmare. What a nightmare for them to have these videos
That's
leaked.
valuable guidance on how to approach the matter.
Valuable. Love the Shepherd
I
book.
want to commend him for seeking help, having the courage to do
Get
so.
help with this.
You know, it has to
Does
be
he need another? Does he need a
embarrassing
hand?
to reveal such matters to the elders.
That is true. When he spoke with me, he said that he knows that I'll have to talk to other elders, and he is willing to face whatever comes, even if it is judicial.
Whatever comes, you say.
He is prepared for that. He mentioned that he has a lot of confidence in me, and that whatever happens will be done Jehovah's way. So again, he is prepared for that.
Well,
That is certainly encouraging.
that is definitely the proper amount of ass kissing that you do when you're in that situation, having been there.
Yes.
Thank you, brothers. I appreciate it so much. You're so right. I know you. I know that this is for. I know that this is for my well-being, and I know it's going to be hard, but I understand.
Yes. And I think that you're so right, because the Judicial Committee training videos, I would argue that the main mistake that the sinner makes is that he is not sufficiently ass-kissy to the elders. He doesn't put on this display of the gnashing of teeth and the tearing of garments and
It's like
expressing fealty to the elder arrangement.
you need to be like a dog, belly up in the submissive position, while the other one stands over you and bares its teeth. Is basically what needs to happen.
Exactly. All right, let's watch the last few seconds of this.
Here. And before we meet with him, would you mind if I said a word of prayer?
Not
I
at
would
all.
prefer if you not
We
do
need
that.
Jehovah's Spirit to help us to care for our dear brother.
Repeat these little affirmations to yourself like a creep.
Oh wow.
And that wasn't even the thing we were supposed to talk about today.
My gosh.
So
it's wonderful though, because I had a little bit of a rant here and there with Michelle when we live streamed about mental health, and I think we just got to deep dive into how absurd it is. I think the idea that you have JW therapists trying to help people with their mental health issues, and it's like, so obviously the cult is the reason for the mental health issues, as we just saw in these two videos about something as simple as human sexuality.
And on a subconscious level, there is still a aversion to therapy in the organization, even though they have started to recently gesture towards the fact that they're more accepting of it. I think on a subconscious level, I understood this as a witness. If I knew that if I went to a therapist and they start asking me questions about what my routine is like and what I do, they will view it as unhealthy and tell me to leave. They will see it as the source of my problems. Like Christina, my mom told her not to go to therapy because they might try and convince her not to be a witness, and I was already this negative effect in her life.
You do have this, I remember this sense of okay, it would sound crazy because they don't understand.
Yes,
it would sound crazy. They wouldn't get it. It would sound crazy if I tried to explain JW stuff to them. I'm going to sound crazy, and they're going to think that's the problem. And it's like, they might be right if they think that.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So to that end, let me show this piece from their. Well, actually, hang on. We were originally just going to go through their Instagram, especially because it had a lot of cringy posts on it. But following you and Apostate Barbie talking about this and some other ex-JWs talking about it, their account is now private. You can't see it anymore. I took a few screenshots before it went private, so we're going to talk about those, and their website, of course, which is still up.
Which the first thing on their Instagram is it says JW therapists and coaches.
Yes.
And we talked about this before the stream, but I have been on the website. I've not found a single licensed therapist listed anywhere in their directory.
But they're hiring one.
So there's
They're
that.
looking for him. And yes, it now says, I don't know if it said this before, only for JW. Fantastic.
Yeah.
So that it is what it seems like. It is a therapy service for Jehovah's Witnesses, and they're pretty upfront about what their intent is. So let me pull this up. So this is a screenshot I took. Finding a JW therapist doesn't have to be complicated. We love Jehovah as much as you do. We respect your beliefs. We know we can help you. So that's what it is. We're not going to tell you that Jehovah's Witnesses
therapy with an agenda. Therapy without curiosity.
The best kind of therapy.
We are here to explore whatever is troubling you, unless it crosses the line of being something arbitrarily decided to be unscriptural, and then we're going to stop and reel it back in.
Yeah, it really calls into question. Well, geez, I mean, okay, I'm sitting down with my JW therapy / life coach, and I tell them about my pornography addiction. Aren't they just going to tell me to go to the elders then, where I will get in trouble?
I had a handful of thoughts. Number one is, are they obligated to report serious sins to your elder body?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
That's my first thought.
Yeah.
Right. What about confidentiality?
Exactly.
I do know, because one of my followers went in and asked them. They're not HIPAA compliant. We know that much.
Oh, you know that much?
Yeah. One of my friends went in and because I was blocked immediately, and asked them, "Are you HIPAA compliant?" And the answer was no. Which they're not offering therapy. They're not even. Are they? If they're offering therapy, see, this is what makes me think this has got to be outside the United States. I don't.
It is. It's in the UK, I believe, because when you go to pricing,
they're using therapy and coaching interchangeably all throughout their materials. And at least wise in the US, those are two different things. To become a licensed therapist, you get a certain amount of education, and you have 3,000 hours of supervision while you see clients under another licensed therapist who makes sure that you're not screwing things up. And then you get your license. And coaching, I can throw up a website tomorrow and start coaching.
Oh yeah, it's what the dude who formed that Twin Flames cult with his wife. He was just this guy who pitched himself as a life coach for a long time, and I mean that's still what they do. The Twin Flames duo. This here says we are not accepting insurance because we are not based in the U.S. And every time I look at their little alerts that people are booking sessions.
Yeah.
There is a little disclaimer at the bottom that says online counseling is not appropriate for all kinds of problems. If you're in a crisis or have suicidal thoughts, it's important that you seek help immediately. Now, why is that? Why would it be that this kind of counseling couldn't help you deal with that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would venture to guess that is considered a serious medical issue, and they are trying to skirt the line of presenting themselves as close enough to the real deal, and then having the little technicality weasel words to back out of actually being, getting themselves in legal trouble.
I think you're totally right. Let's see what happens when I click looking for therapy. Oh, okay. So
Apostate Barbie's talking about you can only practice it. Yeah, in the States, it's a little bit more confusing than that. There are networks of states that all follow the same licensure, and then there are other states that are solo. So it's a little bit more nuanced than that. But yes, it's very common that if you're in a certain state, you have to have a therapist from your own state or from a certain network of states that have signed on to the same basic licensure arrangement.
Yes, that's how my therapist works. I had to find somebody not only who took my insurance, but, that was licensed to operate in the state of Ohio, because I needed somebody who dealt with things like religious trauma, and that's more specialized. It's harder to come by. So yes, they're getting around the checks and balances on whether or not
Yeah,
people
you
are
can you
following.
you can coach anything to anybody, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm a lifestyle coach at altworldly.com.
So
That's
is
not a
it
real
like
website.
it's like BetterHelp but worse. I would say BetterHelp. I've used BetterHelp. I've had one good experience and two bad experiences. But
BetterHelp seems like a crapshoot, kind
the
of.
good experience was an actual therapist with a license. So I would say that this is
Yeah.
far worse than BetterHelp.
I think that's the thing. Like BetterHelp, the issue is that it's not consistent.
It's not
and that
consistent.
there are a lot of people who are not licensed therapists, but there are people who have good experiences with it. And the issue with this is that it seems like there might be no licensed therapists.
Well, and like,
and
you know,
even if they are not acting as a therapist within the confines of brocounsel because they can't and keep their license. I would think.
And we can get into this at some point, but like one of the foundational uses of a therapist is to sort of help you engage your own curiosity about your own experience and be the sort of catalyst for you to do some self-exploration and reconnect to your own thoughts and feelings on things, which is absolutely going to bring you in conflict with being in a mind control cult, you know?
Yeah.
And so by definition, these folks are really, they're just like a second layer of watchtower enforcers is what they are. They're just, it's just like, oh, I'm struggling within or watchtower. I'm struggling maybe because one of my elders is abusive and is taken on themselves to kind of come at me personally or whatever, or I'm in an abusive marriage, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then a decent therapist is going to say, okay, well, how do you feel about that? And let's just go, let's just let the sort of discussion unfold, and it gets us to wherever it gets us to. These people have a destination in mind from the get-go that's predetermined before they even meet you, which is whatever happens, we're going to redirect you back into Jehovah's thinking, Bible principles, serve the governing body. And so it's a completely different experience.
Well, I want to get a comment from a resident social worker in training. And Christina's not feeling well today, so she didn't want to be on camera, but she popped in to hang out here. Say hi so people know that you're real.
Hi, I'm real.
Okay, she's real. She's real. She's here. She's queer. And she has no fear, except of being on camera.
I don't fear the queer. I embrace it.
What did you think about this when you were looking it over as somebody who is trying to be a social worker and a therapist?
So my first disappointment with this is the ethics of it and the potential for like implicit biases.
That's exactly what RC was saying.
Yeah.
They have an end goal in mind.
Correct. And it's not to help, it's to continue to condition that JW mindset. I'm not saying that their intentions aren't good, but it makes me question the ethical principles that a therapist or a social worker is supposed to hold true to. And when I saw this, I just lost my mind.
Yeah.
Because I was like, you can't hold yourself to an ethical standard if you're trying to counsel people with religion and like a specific religion in mind.
Yeah.
You have to be an unbiased party to the situation in order to give them the help and the counseling that they need. And this is definitely not going to help anybody, especially if they're going through, like, let's say domestic abuse within the organization and they're an abuse victim from past sexual traumas and things like that. It's just not trauma informed in their approach. And I don't know. I was just very distaste. There was so much distaste
It's
on my end about it.
I would.
the
Can
domestic abuse thing. Yeah,
Can Christina hear me or just?
she cannot, but I can
Oh.
change that. I think. Here, I think now she can hear you.
You know, Christina's what was occurring to me based like with what you're talking about with the ethics and having a sort of an agenda is the way I put it, is just like there's so many instances where you need to affirm a client's experience,
Yeah.
and you cannot affirm certain experiences as a JW because affirming that this is how you experience this situation and this is how you felt and this is how it's affecting you is contrary to how Watchtower has said that you are to experience and interpret these events in your life.
Absolutely. And I think that, one thing that I have really embraced in my program for social work is that we have to meet the person where they're at. And this counseling organization, whatever they are, they're having the client meet them where they're at. There's no real support there when they're like, I'm here to counsel you, but you have to come to me and you have to meet me where, your ideals and values are. They have to be mine too. And like you said, you as a counselor, whether you understand specifically or not, it's important to reaffirm that person's life experience because it's their life experience. And with it comes trauma, with it comes, the good and the bad. And I feel like this counseling organization would be in a position where they are going to quickly dismiss or discredit whatever it is that you're going through if it's not in line with the JW mindset. And that's, as somebody who has had to go through trauma, and we all have spiritual trauma too, it's very disheartening to have somebody say that your life experience isn't what it is when they don't know, because it's your life experience. And I think that this counseling group really takes away the self-determination that a person has every right to, and they're dismissed. I mean, I would feel dismissed if I were to go to this Jehovah's Witness counseling and them tell me, well, this, that, and the other may have happened, but really Jehovah will take care of it.
Yes.
As you go through their material, it really reinforces the external locus of control. Mm-hmm. Like looking outside yourself, and you're helpless, and Jehovah's there to help you. Mm-hmm. And they reinforce the sort of external validation seeking, the sort of, what matters is how Jehovah feels. What matters is your relationship to Jehovah, which, as we all know, is the governing body and cult propaganda. So it's like you said, I don't remember if you said disempowering or taking away autonomy, but it's very much that. It's like surrender your autonomy and your power over to the organization even further. And now you don't just have the elders doing it to you. You think you went and got an objective third party perspective to help you, and they're actually part of the abuse on some level now.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to, include the fact that you're going to an objective third party to resolve the trauma and the abuse to some extent. I mean, as much as you can, given how traumatic emotional and mental abuse is. But going to this group of people, they're only proliferating or promoting that abuse even further by dismissing the trauma and saying Jehovah will help you free yourself to Jehovah or whatever,
They're just missing the possibility
it's
that
the whole
issues stem from the group itself.
It's the whole like if it's not working, you're doing it wrong. Sort
and-
sort
and
of
so-
mindset, and it's just like another level of, well, have you tried
Yeah.
not feeling that way, praying and
I
praying
have, and
praying
that's
and
why I'm
memorizing
here,
a
'cause it did not
scripture?
help.
A question I have about this, because you brought up domestic abuse, and that was my first thought with this was witnesses are heavily discouraged, and let's be honest, it's mostly witness women are heavily discouraged from separating from their abusive
Oh,
partners.
can
The
you pull up-
divorce is really not supposed to be an option because it's not fornication. So if you are in that situation, to what extent are these coaches and therapists going to give you the advice that you need, or to be able to steer you in the direction of freeing yourself from that relationship, if they're really supposed to uphold the Jehovah's Witness thing?
And
Jake,
that's where that's where it's the ethics, the ethical principles. You can't hold yourself to those principles because your end goal is to keep somebody in the position that they're in.
Yeah.
When as a counselor, coach, therapist, whatever your position is, you're supposed to give power back to that person.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you're doing the opposite. And you can't hold yourself to any sort of ethical code other than the Bible and what Jehovah's organization says when you as a third party need to be as objective as possible, and you can't be using the Bible and you can't be using the organization as your foundation to what you're doing, because not everybody is there,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And
Jake,
Yeah, go ahead, RC.
can you go over to services and pull
Oh,
up
yes.
Zoe Parsons' profile? She's at the bottom. I want Christina to see this. This is unbelievable.
No.
So read more.
Read
So,
more.
Parsons.
Yep. Read her bio.
All right. Have you been in a toxic relationship and are feeling that it was your fault? Great. Are you feeling confused, exhausted, broken, and lost? Not with no question mark. Are you not sure if your relationship is abusive and need help identifying the signs? Is the person in your life your spouse, parent, sibling, relative, congregation member, or work colleague? Do you need a safe place to heal and process your experience? When you have sessions with me, I use proven tools and strategies that will really help you recognize the traits and tactics of an abusive person. We can discuss what you need to do to protect your I'm like away from the microphone. We can discuss what you need to do to protect your mental health and what emotional and practical support you need. As
Okay.
a fellow sister,
This is the one. This is the sentence.
Yes.
Prepare
As a
yourself.
fellow sister, I understand that leaving the relationship might not be an option you have available to you. So I will help you make choices that are in line with Bible principles so that the most important relationship of your life, Jehovah, stays strong and undamaged by your current situation.
Yeah.
There's more.
I wish you could see my face right now.
Well, hey, that's your choice.
This is my face.
Pure dismay and just disgust. I
Yeah.
understand what you are going through, says Zoe. As many years ago, I too was in an abusive relationship, so I have firsthand
Shut the fuck up.
experiences
Sorry.
of the effects of abuse and how damaging an abusive relationship is, as well as the tangled confusion and complexity of a power and control-based relationship.
Not group.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, this
yeah.
gets crazier. Because of my legal
The
background.
fact that they can recognize these things in relationships, but they don't recognize the power and control and abuse and the structure and hierarchy of the organization is wild.
Yes, unbelievable. And she has a legal background. In my personal experience in family court, I qualified as a Mackenzie friend. This enables me to provide practical and emotional support to those who have children with their abuser and who are still being abused by the perpetrator, using the court as a proxy.
Jesus Christ.
I am qualified narcissist and domestic abuse recovery counselor, and I have a proven track record specializing in helping people recover from abuse This is
Okay,
Now,
can I say something?
I want to point out, can you go to her qualifications?
yes.
I did not see a
While you're
degree.
going to those, can I just say, by her standards, it's like saying to somebody, "Oh, you're involved in human trafficking. Well, I know you can't get out of that, but let's make it more comfortable for you."
Yes.
Instead of providing the tools necessary to escape from that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, well, I understand you're uncomfortable. I understand it's not an ideal situation, but here, instead of helping you leave your abuse and your abusive situation, let me just provide tools to make it more comfortable. That right there is so disgusting. I am literally, my head is exploding.
It's true.
Yeah.
I can see it happening.
My ex-wife was married before me and basically ended up in this exact scenario. Moved out, got her own place, and the elders sat with her and in so many words said, well, he's punched the walls and screamed and slammed doors, but he hasn't punched you.
Oh my God.
I mean, in so many words, basically, like, Jake, I have the little piece of information where it's like it has to be extreme abuse.
Oh yes, yes. Okay, let me pull that up real quick,
Just for folks
I need
that
to do homework, but
okay.
so you can
Thank
become
you for-
a real
thank you for-
therapist.
Thank
so
you
that
for
way
coming
I'm not
on.
just
I appreciate.
providing a comfortable situation for abuse victims. I can actually help them.
So I'm just looking
Yeah.
for this. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
Thank you
joining,
for
by the
coming
way.
on.
I'm so happy you were able to jump on.
Yeah, so the
Yeah, let me just
it's
find
in
this real
it's in the
quick.
Google Doc just for the non-JWs who want to understand the organization's policy on getting a divorce under abuse. It's kind of wild.
It is. Okay, so let me pull this. This is the screenshot. And share screen.
This is from the Keep Yourself in God's Love book.
Right.
Yeah. In certain extreme situations, some Christians have decided to separate or divorce. So then they start listing them off. And so I highlighted down below extreme physical abuse. An abusive spouse may act so violently that the abused mate's health and even life are in danger. And this is, oh, I just got cut off from your audio. Is it me or is it you?
Ooh,
Oh,
my
now-
bad. I muted my mic,
Now
and
you're
it
back.
may have muted you somehow.
Oh no, it went so silent. I didn't. So yeah,
She's brushed and she's camera ready.
Yeah, no, sorry. I wanted to, somebody in chat was like, "Can we have a Peach break?" And we do. We need to see Peach real quick.
I
Just
gave her a bath yesterday.
and she
so-
had a bath. She's been brushed. She's very clean. Peach, what do you have to say to our lovely friends here?
can we get a snarl? Arr.
She's too chill. Peach
What do you
is such a
think
chill
about
doggy.
cult indoctrination,
Chilling,
kiddo?
chilling with the peach.
She hates it. She gets bad vibes from
If
Sunday
you could,
service.
if you could train her to like
She
lift
knows
up
that we're
her,
talking
lift
about
up her,
trauma.
just her lip when she sees a governing body member, that would be amazing.
That would be so good. Oh my god. Yes.
Yeah. So the abuse has to be extreme to the point that you think your life is in danger. And the absurdity about this is like your life's not in danger until it is. You know, like
Yes.
the first
Yes.
time you get hit could be the only time.
What happened to foresee the calamity and conceal yourself?
Yeah. And so the elders made my ex-wife move back in with the guy. And, you know, she ended up taking the get disfellowshipped and get scripturally free route. And so then I had to wear that scarlet letter. And it's like, you know, she had already made the decision to separate, had already made the decision that the relationship was over with, had already gotten her own place, lived in her own apartment. But the only way that she could be free of this guy was to bear this stigma in the congregation, get disfellowship, be alone for 6 months, get reinstated. And so this is, you know, this is the kind of thing that brocounsel.com and these therapists are co-signing with their air quotes therapy.
Yep, exactly. And I did a video about domestic abuse and how it's a problem within Jehovah's Witnesses specifically because the structure, as Pastor Barbie and I talked about recently on a stream, like what the abuse and care investigation found in New Zealand was that the patriarchal system was the problem. It was part of the problem. It was part of the abuse. And the issue, like we were talking about earlier with the subjectivity of this stuff, well, extreme physical abuse, that leaves a lot of wiggle room. And
Yeah.
I'm going to mention this. I quoted an elder in the video that I made, that I had talked to an elder, and he really did say this, because I was disturbed by this language when we read it. I was like, what? Wait, because I didn't know that you couldn't get divorced for physical abuse. I was like, wait, why not? That seems crazy. Why does it have to be extreme to even get separated? And the elder was like, well, they have to say that because then a woman could just get divorced just because her husband slapped her one time. And what I didn't say
Sounds
was
like
that
a good rule. Sounds like a good reason to get a divorce to me if you decide
Yeah.
that's what's best.
What I didn't say in
Wow.
that video was that the elder that said that was my dad. My dad said that to me. And so I've just, I struggle with daddy
Yeah.
issues. First time I brought it up on the channel, my daddy issues, but
Yeah.
I don't know how to fucking feel about that. And this is such a, like,
Hey,
this
if
distills it.
we mix your daddy issues with my mommy issues, we have one well-rounded individual.
Oh my God. We'll Voltron into a functioning, healthy adult.
Exactly.
Okay, but Skeptics and Scoundrels, whose name I just totally nailed, said, what a dynamic. The abuse victim and the counselor are both beholden to the abuser. And that is what is really fucked up here. I think there's...
Yeah,
The-
it's
the
just
one-
it's a second ring of enforcement is all it is.
Yeah. And what I wonder is how aware of this stuff the organization is, because stuff like this makes the rounds. I mean, they have a number of followers on their page. All of their posts get hundreds of likes. And how aware are they of this? Because the Mormon Church, they have this somewhat officially. They have like a Masturbators Anonymous type thing, like recovering from
Yeah.
pornography. And I don't think that the witnesses need any of that bullshit officially. But in the absence of it, these unofficial channels pop up too. It just goes to show, like, people really are desperate for help, for assistance, but they are so afraid of going outside the confines of the religion.
I'm wondering if there is some elder pioneer well connected at the top of this, scraping money off the top of each of these women doing these services, and that's how this is even
I wonder about
getting
this too.
floated as, because it also skirts the line of sisters giving scriptural counsel, like talking about some of the stuff on their Instagram is very much almost kind of like JW spiritual food.
Yes.
Are you like, you're not supposed to be taking the place of the governing body, providing spiritual food for people. And it's one of these, it's a very gray area where I'm just like, I'm not even sure what congregation I would have to be in to try to pull this off and not get shut down immediately. But I don't know. And no elder body that I've ever had would have let me run something like this. So
I know. I think about that. Like, it almost seems to me that there would have to be some kind of higher up who's aware of it and okay with it, because otherwise all of these people would be counseled, ironically, by elders and told to stop.
No, I'm not sorry that the apostates have flooded their comments.
No, this is, I think
Because that's another thing.
Christina
It's just
said,
like, should you have a public facing Instagram? That could be a breeding ground for apostates to sow seeds of doubt. Like, indeed it is.
yes. Yeah. And I think what Christina said is true, that their intentions are probably pure. They seemingly are like, well, we do need that. Like, people need therapy, but they don't want to go to worldly therapists for obvious reasons. So we'll try and help. But whatever their intentions are, they simply cannot help. I don't even agree that it would be better than nothing, to be honest with you, because what are they ultimately going to do other than reaffirm what the publications already say?
Yeah.
It's wild. Oh wait, I wanted to just look at the website a little bit more. What happened? What happened to our lovely brocounsel website? So I believe it was Jegza in chat who pointed out that they also have marriage counseling, which is really scary to think about. Substance abuse, codependency, and bullying abuse. Now, this is something that, like, substance abuse and codependency, even that's something that might seem like, well, that's sort of outside of the realm of the religion. They could offer services on that, but I don't know. Like we talked about earlier, when it came to just like wanting to watch porn or whatever, so much of the reason for the addiction, if we even want to still call it that, was the codependency that the organization created. Like the solution was to leave. It created the environment where like the stressors made you want to indulge in that. And it's going to be like that with a lot of things.
Can you, there's Arlena Parker is another one that has some, it's just the paragraph that she has in her first paragraph in her bio is, I agree, it's spot on. But then I compare what she says with what the religion is about. And there's just like, are you not seeing what all the rest of us are seeing here?
Yes. It shows how like you just carve out this part in your brain when you are in a group like this where no critical thinking can penetrate. Like it's just this zone where you're able to reason and articulate all these things. Like, I understand that we all have the same basic human needs to feel safe, but some of our basic needs were not met as children, and it creates emotional problems later in life. Like, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know whose emotional needs aren't being met as children? Jehovah's Witness children.
Yeah, the feelings connected to these events get buried in the body and follow us into adulthood, causing health problems, anxiety, unhealthy coping behaviors. And all I thought about when I read this was the Caleb video, where Caleb is walking into the kitchen and he's like burying his head down in the kitchen table, and he's just bawling his eyes out, like Jehovah doesn't want to be my friend anymore. And yeah.
RC pulled this clip for us. Yeah, this is one of the worst things they've ever made.
I'm home.
Lucy.
Hello? Anybody?
He had a rough day.
Oh, what happened?
Yes.
Caleb, are you okay?
What if Jehovah doesn't want to be my friend anymore?
Oh, it's just
It's like, yeah. Meanwhile, you've got this JW therapist that's like, some of our needs won't be met as children, and we have emotional distress, and this can be traumatizing and have consequences on how the brain and body function. Like, no shit.
Yeah.
No shit. Like they are unironically portraying childhood trauma in cartoon form.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, oh, well, it's all okay. We'll just teach you that Jehovah forgives you. But, the underlying trauma is, I don't know how old you were. I was 7 years old when it dawned on me, like, oh, Armageddon's for me too. Like,
yeah.
I'm going to get a
age.
few more years older, and then maybe mom and dad go through and I die. Like, what?
Yeah.
And
I hadn't even thought about when I realized that. It was young though.
Oh, I remember when I was the conversation with my mom, because she started bawling her eyes out because I was challenging her on some stuff and praying out loud, oh, Jehovah, I don't want my baby to die in Armageddon. He's too smart for me. How do I train him to believe in you? And it's just like 7 years old, like watching my mom have a mental breakdown over the fact that I'm challenging her on stuff. It's like, I never challenged any of it again after that. But it's more than that. It's like, there's a part of me that's broken and damaged, this curious part of my brain that asks questions and doesn't accept things at face value and wants mom and dad to explain to me the why behind the things that are taught at the meeting. That part of me is bad. That part of me needs to go away. in order for me to survive and function in this organization. And so when she's talking about childhood trauma having an effect on how your brain works, like, yeah, it literally causes you to sort of like carve off parts of your personality and just exile them sort of away so that you can survive in this system that basically says like, hey, that part of who you are, that's not acceptable. Not to your mom, not to your dad, not to Jehovah, not to anybody. You've got to learn how to not be that person anymore.
Oh my God, Sparky. When I told my father I had questions, he told me he'd be a part of the body cleanup group that finds me dead after Armageddon.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry.
That's awful.
The worst thing. Oh my God. The very first nightmare I had as a child was about dying at Armageddon. Yeah, maybe I'll mention this later, but so I've been working on this book that's like a horror novel that takes place within Jehovah's Witnesses, but I've just been mining a lot of my own memories for it. And one of the things I was thinking about was when I was a really little kid. I don't know if you had this experience. When you just know about paradise, you think it's amazing and exciting. And I would wake up every day and I would look outside to see if paradise had come and see if there would be like lions and stuff playing in my front yard. And at a certain point, I told my mom that I was doing this, and they were like, "Oh, well, that's not actually how it works. It's not just going to be there tomorrow." And like that's when I had to learn about all the other steps that happened first. And so I don't remember how old I was, but pretty young, because I was old enough to just think that the world might magically be a paradise tomorrow. And it's just the dread of death because of the most minor of transgressions is something that it's poisonous. It's poisonous to your brain, and you cannot be fulfilled as a person if you have that mentality. You just can't be. It makes you cruel, as evidenced by Sparky's dad's comments.
I think about even something as simple as going to your therapist and saying like, hey, I was on vacation for 2 weeks and I felt wonderful. And, I didn't go to any meetings I was supposed to, but I don't feel guilty about it. I felt like it was a great vacation. And I noticed when I came back and I was walking up to the Kingdom Hall that I had a knot in my stomach and I felt kind of sick when I walked in. What is one of these therapists on this website going to do? Are they going to affirm that experience and then say, "Oh, that's interesting. Like maybe your body's telling you something. Like let's explore where this anxiety could be." Or is it going to be like, okay, well, when we have those kinds of feelings, what we need to do to make them go away so that we don't actually introspect too much on where they're coming from is follow these, and just hand you some tools to cognitively bypass your emotional experience,
Yeah. Yep, exactly. Oh, Culty Talk. A couple good comments here I want to shout out. I remember when I was 4 crying my eyes out because we had come back from an assembly and I was scared that Armageddon would come and I would not make it or be with my mom and dad. Culty Talk says, my mom doesn't want to face the fact that they teach that they are going to clean up the body. She says, no, the birds and animals are going to clean it up. That's really old school. And that's not what the GB teaches. Yeah, they have, and I think maybe even Garrett Loesch has talked about this. Like, they haven't talked about it much recently, but it's there. It's in the publication.
I think you're supposed to have to bury the skeletons and innards at least. I think the birds are just going to pick the flesh off the bones, right?
Yeah, that's right. But you're still, hey, those bones, they're going to be there for
twisted.
a while.
You ever just look at the JW depictions of paradise and just imagine like a mass grave underneath the grassy hills? Like,
yes,
when you really think about how monstrous it is.
There's this Goofy Community episode that unironically was really important to my waking up process. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, but it's just, about friends at a community college. There's this silly episode where they find next door to the college, there's this guy who's got a secret trampoline and they start bouncing out. It's amazing. It's like the secret garden, but then it's ruined. It turns out that the guy who owns the trampoline is racist. And also they were trying to exclude, Pierce from the group because he would ruin the trampoline. And so the lesson at the end of the episode, Jeff Winger said, and it's a funny episode, but he says, I guess paradise that demands exclusion isn't actually paradise. Maybe paradise is a lie. And I remember just
Oh,
watching it like,
wow.
oh no. And that shit never left my brain. And
Wow.
that, like, you're so right. Like, now, like, ever since then, when you see paradise, it's like all the people who were killed to get to that
Yeah.
to get to that world. Somebody pointed out we should look at this privacy policy.
Just riffing on that, I think one of my most
Yeah.
favorite ridiculously ironic things is when there's like some god awful event in the world, and it's like, this is why we need Jehovah's Kingdom and we need paradise soon. And it's like, in what reality is watching all these people suffer, and your answer is kill them? Like,
Yeah.
they can't suffer if they're all dead. That'll fix it. Like,
That'll put them out of their misery.
solution found.
Boy, this is quite elaborate. It's difficult for me to determine how much of this is somewhat normal language for a therapy website and what's not. This like data, housing and sharing and all that stuff. I don't know. When required by law, we cooperate with government agencies. Anyway, I guess they're just... I don't know if I have much for taking on this, but...
there was also that same person, Arlene, that we were looking at. One of her certifications is energy medicine and quantum healing frequency therapy. Which
Whoa!
Yeah.
Why can I never find them? Which people are they?
Go to services.
I didn't mean to say which people are they. I meant to say what link is. Holy shit!
And then go to Arlena Parker on the read more.
Okay, she had. Yeah, what?
Go to
was
her qualifications. She has energy medicine. Which this was the part where I was like, this can't be U.S. based, because I know that there's parts of the world where some of this stuff is a little bit like wink, wink.
Yeah.
But like that would totally register as on the demonic scale for most elders or brothers and sisters, I think.
Quantum healing frequency therapy. Oh yeah, 100%. We had a sister in our hall who was treated as a pariah for doing stuff like that. She would give energy readings and would talk about it, and people found it uncomfortable. Boy, oh boy, this is really wild. It's just like the fact that they can say unironically, yeah, we know what narcissistic abuse is.
Yeah, and
also, you should
CPTSD and
watch
childhood trauma. Like, really? You know what childhood trauma is, but you watch children getting traumatized every time you go to the Kingdom Hall? Like, come on.
Just completely unbelievable. Absolutely wild. I am so glad that you were here to talk about this. This has been such a great conversation.
Thanks for having me on. It was quite fortuitous that we had, the intro that we had with the other craziness.
That worked out well. I mean, if we were witnesses, we'd say that was angelic direction. Coincidental things never happen. It must be God or the angels or something making it happen.
Jehovah provides.
Jehovah provides content. I do, and I knew that at the time. I knew that Donald Glover was an XJW, but they never really deal with it in any serious way in the show. It's always just like, as a joke, all the characters have a religion that is occasionally referenced, but I never
but there is one episode, isn't there an episode where he celebrates Christmas?
Yes.
He's gonna celebrate Christmas as like an undercover Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, he's Jehovah's most secret witness. I didn't watch that as well. I turned it off when it hit that point because I was like, no, this is too much. But then I watched all the other episodes. They do the same thing with the birthday too. Like, they make him a cake that says like, hello for a random dessert, the number of which happens to coincide with the date you were expelled from your mother's vagina.
You have to love like random XJWs like publicly just kind of paving the way here and there where they can with this stuff.
It's great. But you know what? Because like, I'm a huge nerd for Community, and so I've listened to all the commentaries, and he said that like he would be making fun of stuff, and so the writers would throw it in, but he's like, oh man, but like my mom, like he still has a relationship with his mom, and so he doesn't want to be too anti, and I think that's
oh my gosh, his stand-up is filthy though.
Like, I know.
I can't imagine his mom.
Really dirty.
I guess if it's not apostate, it's fine.
And his music is obviously very raunchy, and Atlanta is a really raunchy show. Like,
Yeah.
he's just a normal guy. Mr.
Yeah, because I
Shem.
watched a lot of Community, and then I went to watch his stand up, and I was like,
Oh yeah, he's
I was like,
acting when he's Troy. He's not a happy-go-lucky dumb guy. He's amazing. I do have a small resentment. I'm like, why just be our Leia Remini for just like if he's the most famous like ex-cult person ever. If he like put him on blast, it would destroy the religion.
Yeah.
Don, come on the show. Dong Lover, come on the show. Well, this has been great. Thank you so much for being here. If you want to follow Mr. RC here, his social is linked in the description, his Instagram and so forth. And subscribe to the Sunday service feed. I might upload some highlights from this to the main channel because it was such a good discussion.
Yeah.
Everybody in the world.
I'll pull a clip or two and put it on my Instagram.
Awesome. This has been great. Thanks to everybody. Join me at 4 p.m. EST. We're just going to dunk on Pillowgate stuff if you want to join. And as always, I don't actually have an outro. Oh, wait. You know what I'll show... just because I'm proud of it and I want to tease it, I made an edit that I think is funny. It's in my video that's going to come out tomorrow. But I talk a lot about what we were talking about earlier, which is the cosplay aspect of being an elder. The fact that they're sort of pretending to be cops or lawyers, and I realized something watching it, that there's another thing they kind of like to do, which is they like to pretend to be secret agents, which all guys like to do. They like to have secret meetings and filing cabinets. So I want to play this dumb edit I did where I play some James Bond music underneath what they're doing, and that'll close out our show. Bye, RC.
Bye.
I'm going to kick us both into the purgatory for a minute. You know who I am? Wait, I'm going to bring myself back because I got to actually find it. Sad. I hadn't planned on doing this. It's towards the end of the video. And if you're a patron and watch this early, there's a lot more of it, actually. Like, there's more stuff that I just hadn't had time to add yet. All right, here you go. And don't forget every dude's dream job, secret agent.
Hello, Mike Sharp.
Hi, Mike. This is Tom Wiseman. Are you in a place where we can talk privately?
Yes, in my office with the door closed.
I got a call from the circuit overseer, and he's appointed an appeal committee for the Robbie Friend case. I'll be serving as chairman.
Thanks for the call.
Steve Adams is on the committee, and so is Bob Williamson from Niceville.
Good to know.
We'll need to see the S-77 report and any notes or other related paperwork, and then meet with your committee to discuss the case.
I have the completed S-77 form here.
It is a chance for elders to